I love talking shop with operators, especially those that have been super successful, that have what I call the key to a successful restaurant. My guest today, Christian Fischer, is known as the Disruptive Chef. We're going to talk all about KPIs and running a business, not a restaurant. What are KPIs? Key performance indicators. What are the critical financial aspects of your business you really need to zero in on and dial in? We're going to talk about mentoring a staff and getting the best performance from them. We're going to talk about branding and marketing and really setting the world on fire so that you have a dynamic concept that just has tons of repeat business. It's really a dynamic episode you're not going to want to miss. So stay tuned. Please leave us a review on your favorite podcast player. It'll help other hospitality professionals find us. We really appreciate you tuning in. Can't wait for you to hear this one, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
What would it feel like to lower your operating costs, double your sales, lower staff turnover, create raving fans, and design a menu that literally prints money? Our online restaurant training system will teach you and your staff to rock your restaurant and transform your business. Head on over to restaurantrockstars.com. It'll take you less than 5 minutes to get started. You've got this. Your restaurant team is the foundation of your business and most important asset. I know from experience that a happy team is a productive team that deliver great guest service experiences. Morale is the key. Check out myemployees.com/hospitality. My Employees offers impactful, consistent, and most of all, appreciated recognition programs that boost morale, reduce turnover, and drive guest satisfaction. My Employees is the industry benchmark, helping thousands of hospitality leaders build winning teams. Go to myemployees.com/hospitality. Welcome back to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. So glad you're with us. And Christian, what a great addition to the show. I'm so glad you're here. I had so much fun on your show last week. Had to bring you in because we had such a great conversation.
And no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And I know my guest will get a ton of value out of listening to the conversation we had last week. And hopefully we provide some value to our guests there.
Absolutely. We share passion for this industry and it runs deep. And this industry has been devastated. First, it's the pandemic, and then it's the labor crisis. And it's like our goal, I would agree, I'm sure you would agree, is to help people rediscover why they got into this business in the first place, what their passions are, and to help them improve their business. So with that said, you're a true restaurant guru. Some people would call you a sage. Why restaurants? And tell us about how you got into this business.
That's a long story, but thank you. That's a very good question. So for me, I got started, never wanted to be in the restaurant industry, full transparency. My parents owned a hotel back home in Austria. And my dad always said, hey, you got to come to work after school. So I worked after school and I didn't love it. So I'm done with school. And my dad said, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, hey, I want to go be a medical doctor. I said, okay, go ahead and do it. So I went to medical school. About 4 months in, we were part of this operation. We were standing in the operation room and they were like, okay, you come over here. Made a thing with a marker. Can you cut them? And I practiced on melons and everything else. I cut this person. I will never forget this 80-year-old guy. I passed out.
Unbelievable story. I never expected to hear this. Okay.
And in the room, they come in and says, I was like, this is not for you. Maybe you want to be a chiropractor or something. So I go home Thursday, tell my dad. He says, okay, what do you want to do in your life? He says, I want to take the summer off. He says, okay, you have to Friday. And on Friday, he dropped me off at this hotel. And this hotel, nobody finished an apprenticeship in 9 years. It's just a really tough place, 5-star place. And I wound up there. I hated it so much in the beginning. I jumped out the back window, drove home. My dad brought me back the next day because he says, hey, this is going to be good for you. And was the first person in 9 years, actually then afterwards, to finish a 6-year program. By the way, in order to do anything in Austria. So I went 3 years to serve food, 1 year to cook. So then I added on a year to be a baker, added a year on to be a butcher. So I graduated with 4 degrees. And for me, that's what started it all. And
yeah. Wow.
Didn't love it at first because I seen my parents own the hotel for almost 60 years and I could see how hard it was for them, because we were really a seasonal hotel. We opened up the first week in, so they closed the last week in May. And when I wanted to ask for something, I knew exactly when to ask. And the summertime, we don't say anything. But for me, that was it.
No kidding. Full immersion. Wow, seasonal. I had seasonal restaurants. Out of 5, 4 of them were seasonal, but shorter seasons. We're talking late November, and then by April 15th, it's over. So very limited opportunity you couldn't make any mistakes, basically. A very small margin for mistake. You had to really crank people through. You had to be as profitable as you could be. But what a baptism by fire that was. And I did that for 23 years. So very similar. Okay. Why do you call yourself the Disruptive Chef?
That's a really good question. And for me, that goes back a few years, because I honestly feel everybody in the industry needs somebody who disrupts their thinking. And for me, I was the chief culinary officer before I broke out on my own for a $6 billion company in the US. And working with as many chefs as I did, I realized 3 things. They were one connection, one network, or one strategy way to have a total different outcome of their life and their career. And for me, I always talked to them, but nobody ever took action on it. So for me, I said, I need to disrupt the thinking, and therefore the Disruptive Chef came about. And it was for them, not just because by me telling them, I realized they didn't want to hear it, because I was one of their supporters. So now in our podcast, we bring individuals like you. And then when they hear you tell the story, they sit there and say, oh, I heard Roger say this. Oh, that makes perfect sense. And it doesn't matter. I could have said this 50 times before, because I honestly believe when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And therefore, that's a great way of getting people out there. And so the Disruptive Chef came about because every time in the end, I pushed people. I was like, no, you got to do this. And somebody said to me, you're just so disruptive. You're always disruptive. You're always thinking differently. And the Disruptive Chef was born.
I love it. That's a great story. Speaking of disruption, this business, we all have crazy stories, things I can't believe that happened. Oh my gosh, how did I get past this? Can you think of anything in your illustrious career where something really crazy happened and it's, wow, how did I get through that? Or how did that happen?
My story is, I was the chief culinary officer for this company. We did a dinner at the Egg in upstate New York, in Albany. If you ever have the opportunity to work there, try to find out that there's something else, because the place is so big. And we had this dinner for 6,500 people.
Unbelievable.
And
seriously, that's a big dinner.
Yes.
And you cooked every meal yourself.
The place was so big.
Yeah.
It was 9/10 of a mile from one side to the other. It was just massive.
Oh, yeah.
And so we putting out the dinner, and we rolling out the plates for salad. And we had it in a rolling bin.
Yes.
Somebody smashed down, broke 160 plates. And then we were like, don't worry about it. We will take the appetizer plates, because they were the same size. We wash them and we get them out for dessert. We rolled the desserts back. The same guy broke 2 more.
Again.
So we were 500 plates out, and we were like, we in trouble.
This was all an accident?
It was, I think he meant really well. He was rushing all the time. And I was like, slow down.
Yeah.
And he filled the trays. You know how it goes. It's top heavy. It was just, it was one of those things. We plated the last thing, and there's the waitstaff waiting and say, we need it out.
They must have been stressed out. Yes.
And thank God we got it done. And the lessons learned was, replate the salads, replate the desserts, because then none of that should happen. And you have some leftover plates. But dinner went off without a hitch. And you know how it goes. As long as just the customer doesn't know, it was a great night. But I never walked as much. I had at the time a GPS tracker and tracked your steps. I did 38,000 steps at that then. And I didn't want to do 38,000 steps. We actually drove around in a golf cart, but it was just massive how big it was. And that's one of the stories.
That's a lot of steps. My wife tracks her steps daily. She goes for walks, long walks. And if she misses 17,000 steps, it's not a great day. So 38,000, that's twice that. More than twice that. Oh, wow. Yeah.
So Roger, it was one of those dinners. We had so many mistakes. There were so many things which went wrong. We didn't have enough sauce for the filet. Afterwards we were sitting there, we were laughing as a group.
Yes.
And said, nobody noticed anything. People came back, they gave us a standing O. Nobody knew anything. But there was every single course there was something. And the desserts we didn't make, it just came out of a box. We cut it and plated it. But we were laughing afterwards. I said,
You'll
"What the
never
crazy
forget
thing
that.
is." And it was probably, I always tell, next time there was an event at the egg, I don't think I gotta make it. Have somebody else do it.
We'll put someone else in charge of the next one. That's one of those never let them see you sweat, the show must go on stories, right?
Yeah.
That's great. What do you love most about this business, Christian?
That's a really good question, Roger. So for me, what I love is because I always use one of my brothers. I have 5 brothers, 5 sisters, by the way. My oldest brother is a builder and he builds homes for a living in Austria, and he builds for 6, 8 months. And people come in for the first time. They said, "Oh, I thought you did this. Oh, I thought you did this." So he worked so hard for that long and got very little recognition. What I love about this industry is if you have a fantastic dish and the guest loves it, they come back and say, "This was absolutely amazing," or "This was just so pretty the way it looked at," or "Hey, you put so much thought into this to make it work," is instant satisfaction. So for me, that's the first thing I love. And the second thing, I had the opportunity to work in different avenues, but I think people in this industry are super passionate about what they do. They're very, not just passionate, they want to make sure that they do an amazing job for anybody out there. And I found some of most humble, most amazing human beings in this industry. And that's why this is my industry.
You're a huge believer in leadership. So how do you define that word?
That's a really good. So leadership for me goes, I break it down a little bit more. I start with self-leadership, because if I can lead myself to go and say, if I get up at 8, that I get up at 8. If I tell myself that I gonna go and work out, that I work out. So for me, leadership starts with self-leadership. And for me, because if I can lead myself, how am I gonna lead a team or an whole organization? So for me, if you're asking me what leadership is, get to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And you are the guinea pig, because if you can do it for yourself, it's really hard to demand it from somebody else. And leadership is not something I tell people. Leadership is where people saying, "I want to be like Roger, because the way he works, the way he is in full integrity in whatever he does, I want to be like Roger." And that's for me is leadership.
That's definitely a wonderful way of looking at it. And the next piece to that is accountability.
Mhm.
Is there a key to that in your mind and in your past experiences? Because I travel quite a bit and I speak on the road, and restaurateurs ask me, why don't people show up on time? Or why do they call out sick? Or why is their performance inconsistent? And I ask 2 questions. It's, have you set clear expectation? And
Mhm.
do you have accountability? And the first question is, how do I do that? So I guess I ask you, Christian, how have you done that? Or what's the key to accountability?
I just tell them, "Hey, hire somebody who is coming out." Now, for me, it's really simple. For people, it's a job. Okay. If it's a job, they want to do a good job. That's simple as that. If they want to be leaders, they become leaders. But I always looked at, it's really simple. If there is whatever wrong, or if there's a little incident, you nip it in the bud right there and then. So if somebody's late, you talk to them, "Hey, you're 7 minutes late." It's not about the 7 minutes, it's the impact you have on anybody else, because now you made the whole team 7 minutes late, and you give them a reason to look beyond that. And for me, what I found, and I have create on here for a reason, because we
I love
creating conversation. And for me, this conversation is, if I'm in leadership, if I'm do something else, if I don't communicate with them, and if they don't know what I expect of them, it's really hard for them to live up to it. So for me, if you're asking me, I was really successful nipping this in the bud right in the beginning. I don't wait. "Oh, hey, come on, Roger. This is the 3rd time. You're late again. What's wrong with you?" And I also realized that people don't want to be late. And, "Hey, Roger, this is the 3rd time you're late. What's really going on with you?"
And fairness and impartiality, but that is absolutely key.
And for me, if there's one thing I want the audience to know, it's, I call it the pause. Because if somebody is doing it intentionally, they want to fill that gap. So if I tell you, "Roger, this is the 3rd time you're late."
Consequences as well. Disciplinary action, having that system in place, I've always found to be important. And there's minor infractions, there's major infractions, and you need to decide, where's the line? Is there something that's a cause for immediate termination? How much can they push this, as long as they're written up and there's some kind of consequence? Are
Yep.
they learning from their mistakes? Are they not repeating those mistakes? All those things.
And it's really key. don't look at how good the employee is. Look at the infraction, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the best employees feel they get away with stuff because they're really amazing employees. And if you're willing to part with really good employees, it sends a message for everybody else. If you hold really good employees to account, it sends a message to everybody else. And for me, have that conversation, have it right in the beginning, and don't let it escalate.
Now, you've been a mentor and you're a big believer in mentorship, but this is an industry, unfortunately, where managers are reactive and not proactive, and they're putting out the daily fires. And it's like, how do they find the balance? What advice do you have for people that really want to train and mentor others, but suddenly this gets in the way, or I got to be on the line working and I don't have time to train you, and just jump in and do it. And that is not how you build a team.
That's a really good question. And for me, mentorship has three forms. There's the official way. I said, Roger, I want you to be my mentor. And we have a formal setting and we do a formal meeting. Mm-hmm. The second form of mentorship is where Roger did this amazing book, this amazing story. I want to read his book because I learned from Roger, and that's learning by default or learning by copying. And then for me, there's a third form of leadership and the mentorship. That's really simple. And that's it when you walk into a team and say, hey, this is what we do as a team. Roger, how do you feel you can contribute to the team? Putting it back onto the person, which you ever have. And if I can lead by example, leadership for me doesn't require a title. Leadership for me requires two other things, which is a clear expectations and a clear follow-up. And for me, that's how I look at leadership.
Excellent. All right. That's great. Again, we've been talking about this whole labor struggle, and so many people are still trying to hire versus recruit the best people, and creating a company culture where people feel like they belong. They've got a voice, they can contribute, but there's also training and mentorship and shadowing and all these great things like elevate the team. So I'm really glad that you share those philosophies. I want everyone to hear this because it's just the way forward versus the old way, which I think has totally shifted since before the pandemic. It's like, you can't be the manager anymore. You've got to totally change your thinking if you want your business to move forward.
And I honestly feel, and in our restaurants, everybody from the channel manager to the chef have a financial impact on it. So
they do.
We not fully employee owned, but every major salary employee has a benefit option. And the benefit option is really simple, where we go and tell them, hey, do you want to take this on? Because I make you part owner on the profit side. And there was not just because I'm so great in doing this. COVID happened. We literally opened up our first restaurant in Florida 3 weeks before COVID happened. Thank God in Florida, we never shut down all the way.
That's right. I remember.
But I didn't get the story. I flew down. I couldn't even, so we in West Palm Beach. I had to fly into Fort Lauderdale. Last flight, there was 3 people on the flight. I couldn't find a car. I rented an exotic car because it's the only car I can get.
Nice.
So I had a Maserati.
All right. Yes.
I realized it looks much nicer than it drives. But so I went to the restaurant and I said, guys, I don't know. We have 2 options. We can close. I don't want to close. We need to figure something out. And what I was thinking is, hey, if you become the channel manager, you are now the CEO. Okay, chef, you're this. And you know what? We take 40% of the profits and we get them split them up. So you guys are owners as of today. If you good with this arrangement, let's run. If you feel like that's not something you want to do, I'm sorry, but there's no other option I have. And it was the craziest thing. We reduced food cost 3.5% the first month. And we always thought we ran a tight ship, but the chef really took it on. We have now 3 restaurants. And then I drive home, and I will never forget this. I slept in Baltimore the first night, and I'm sleeping in Baltimore, and I'm thinking, was this the right decision? Giving 40% of the profits away. I realized, how am I going to control this? I'm in Connecticut, they're in Florida. So what we did is every Monday morning, we did a morning call, 15 minutes. Hey, what's going on in your world? How can you make the day better than you did yesterday? And how can I help you? And we did twice a week. We did an evening shutdown meeting. So what used to be the huddle, we did it over Zoom. And for me, not everybody works. So we actually had to let a few people go through this, but the people which stayed did absolutely an amazing job getting this thing done. And for me, I think that's the future forward. and giving people a financial impact on going above and beyond. And again, this is not because I was such a great thinker. I had no other choice. And they did an amazing job, and they still continue to do an amazing job. And now every restaurant we open up after that, we have the same format. And that works for us.
I think that's the definition of empowerment right there, and giving people an impact on the business and then giving them a piece of the impact. That's tremendous. Very nice. Nicely done.
And yeah, by default, I'm telling you, full transparency. I drive home and that's all I'm thinking of. First of all, there was nobody on the road. It was like weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, this guy looked like I didn't really convince him. I called him, hey, do you have any questions? I feel like we had this half-hour conversation. I need you to be on it. And I need you to be on it because I hired you for a reason. And the reason we hired you, here's the 5 things. The reason I hired you, and then I didn't hire anybody else. And I think this also had something to do with, I call it luck, with our luck. Because for me, as I made it very personal. It was not about me, about financial impact or anything else. It's that the reason I hired you, because the second day you worked for us, do you remember you came and said to me what we need to do? You didn't say, yeah, you need to do this. I knew you bought into that. Do you remember at the 4th day, you were there already and I said, hey, you need to go home because you've been here already 60 hours. And you said, it's only 2 more hours. I got this. You could have gone home. And I did personal things. I said, the reason I think you're the right guy for this. And he's still working for us. And he is amazingly good in what he does. It wasn't always perfect. I was a little bit rocky at first, but he's doing an amazing job every single day. And it was for me because I honestly felt I needed to be as personal as I possibly can and share with them how I felt. And for me, I think there is power in messiness because I told him, I said, hey, I thought of this thing for the last 2 hours. And the reason I'm calling you is I just want to make sure you totally understood.
As the chief culinary officer back then for a large organization, did you have any influence over the front of house if you saw something going sideways, or were you just staying in your lane and focused on the kitchen? Lily's Fresh Pasta refuses to compromise on quality. This family-owned business, built on time-honored traditions passed down from Lily to her son Antonio, lives on with every batch. Lily's Fresh Pasta is made to European standards using 100% non-GMO, glyphosate-free Italian unbleached wheat. Lily's is served in the finest restaurants in America. I've had Lily's Fresh Pasta many times, and I can tell you it's always molto buono. Elevate your menu. Serve Lily's Fresh Pasta in your restaurant. Ask your local food service representative or call Antonio directly at 603-818-2100 and be sure to follow Lily's on Instagram at Lily's Fresh Pasta. Restaurants sell tons of fried food and your customers love it, but the hassles, hazards, and mess of fryer oil, cleaning hoods, and all that grease, well, you can forget all that with Restaurant Technologies. They deliver your oil, filter it, monitor usage, collect and recycle your waste cooking oil. Their AutoMist system automates your hood and flue cleaning, eliminating the fire risk. As a Restaurant Technologies customer, you'll also save 10 to 15% in your insurance premiums. Plus, get a bonus for new customer referrals. Get started at rti-inc.com or call 866-399-3639. The heart of the house, as we call it.
That's a really good question. And the short answer is yes. So for me, I honestly feel in a restaurant, the atmosphere from the person coming in, no fingerprints on the glass. The place is clean. It smells amazing. People walk in, they're being greeted, possibly by name, if I know their name. They're being said. The wait staff comes up looking professional, sounding like they really wanted to be there. And then the food is the confirmation of this whole thing. And the food is not the star. The food is just a confirmation that they made the right decision. This is the right place for me to come and have dinner tonight. This is the right way for me to take my customers, whatever they need to do. And for me, I always looked at this is a full 360 experience. I ask the chef sometimes, go out in the front, what do you see? He says, oh, the flowers are dead, or whoa, whoa, whoa. And because they're looking at things differently, because other people, there's something called company blind. And so for me, we always called it open eye thing, walk around. And it worked because for me, there's nothing more frustrating, if I want to call it, if the food is amazing, but everything else is subpar. Because people made the decision to come and dine here because they wanted to have an experience. And we coined the phrase that we not chefs, we not front of house service, we are architects of memories.
I love that.
For me, that changed everything because it says we are here to make memories. If they have a birthday, I want them to come here for every single birthday. Not only do I want to have them come here for birthday, I want them to come here because they know, we know them by name. We can ask them honest questions. We can ask them honest feedback. And we just want them to have great memories when they're here. And that changed everything for us.
Architects. I really like that a lot. It reminds me, when I opened my first restaurant, I thought, okay, I wanted all the food to have what I called wow factor, which means anytime a server put a plate in front of a guest, I wanted them to look at it and say to the rest of the table, wow, okay, great. But then I thought after a while, okay, that's great, but it's not just about the food. You want the food to have wow factor, but you want the experience to have wow factor. You want the service, the ambiance, everything should be wow. And it's about hooks and what sets you apart from the competition.
Yeah.
So, I like
love
architects of experiences, and that just reminded me of that
and
story.
it's just simple. Somebody drops a napkin, you don't pick the napkin up. You give him a new napkin. Little things like that, because if you wouldn't do it yourself, don't do it to a customer. And for me, they're coming here because they choose to come here. And it's our job to make it as a memorable experience as possible.
Yes. I also I trained my team, every table is your table. So this section might be Sally's and that section might be Bob's. But if Sally's in the kitchen and Bob notices something happening in Sally's section, it's like, it's your table. Somebody drops a fork, someone needs something. It's like, it's overlap, it's backup, it's choreography of the service.
I love that. And that's really hard to teach. And you and I talk about this all the time. It needs to become an unspoken rule. This is what we do because we want to have them have an amazing experience. And just because I said it takes one person to take that napkin and put it back on a customer's thing. And then everybody, oh, he did it. Now it's okay for me to do it. No, if this is something everybody knows, this is a new napkin. If they drop a fork, it's a new fork. And then all the things, if we see them play with the fork, we come, hey, we might give you a new fork. It's just little things. I love this. My father was in the military. He always used the philosophy, hey, you know the way it is? They need to be seen, but not really be seen. They need to be here and they know what's going on, but you don't want to have him hanging around. And he's out of his mind, but now I quote him. But it's so true. And for me, we coined that phrase of, hey, we are all architects of memories because people come here because they want to have a memorable experience. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. I love the story you told me last week about your dad wanting to buy back the hotel because they changed the color of the shutters. That just knocked me out. I mean, that's where it runs deep, right? You see somebody doing something with what was your business for so long, and it's like they're fixing something that's not broken. Why are they doing that?
Oh, don't they know? This is not the way to the shutters. Do you leave them? It's not yours, Dad. You saw that. And then the story, he wanted to buy it back. And I was like, oh, do not, please. You're 86 years old. Do not.
You don't want to get back in this business. Just enjoy your retirement. Let's talk about growing and scaling a business. And that's always a challenge because you have one successful restaurant. It's like, how do you know that the next one's going to be successful? How are you in more than one place at the same time? How do you empower your team to run one place while you're opening another place? That is a challenge for a lot of operators. So what do you have to say about that?
That's a really good question, because for us, as we started to have number two, I realized there's a few individuals in my facility which didn't know what is the difference between growth and scaling. And growing is you do this internally, scaling is when you go outside. And he always said to me, I have such a hard time letting go. I have such a hard time letting go.
Yeah, that's right.
It was like,
I need to do it. If I want it done right, I got to do it myself. And I can't trust anybody to do anything. Yeah. There's so much of that mindset.
And for me, she was the wrong fit. So we brought her back to location number one. And we have now a team where we have each location have its own identity. So we always call it the 70-30. 70% you need to do what we're doing as an organization. 30% is do what the customer wants, because your customers is different than anybody else's.
Right.
So for me, there's the difference between growing and scaling. Growing is to grow your business and grow what you want to do. Scaling is where I want to have multiple restaurants of that. So for me, when we hire now, we always ask that question, what's the difference between growing and scaling in your opinion? And it's interesting what you want to hear. But for me, it comes back to you as the owner. And I want to have friendly competition. And I also noticed that people in our industry are very competitive. So now if location number 2, a little bit larger square footage wise, but for seat wise, they have 6 less seat than restaurant number 1. And we went to them, oh, you guys are a little bit down in sales. We understand because you're 6 tables down. And then the general manager said to me, this is the last time you will say that. And then it became the thing. So he beat sales. He was just on par with restaurant 1. And then restaurant 1 was, but he has 6 tables less. And so it was this friendly competition, which I love. And then also, I think a restaurant needs to become an intricate part of the community. And I think that's the hardest thing for any franchisee to come in, because we originally said 80-20, and I knew 80 is not enough. So we went to 70-30 because there needs to be 30%. Hey, if there's something going on, I want to support it. If there's a local thing, I want to do this. And for me, we actively spend a lot of money and a lot of time and effort on it to become an intricate part of the community. We want to make sure that we hire people in the community. We want to make sure we promote people in the community. And for me, I feel that was one of our successful tips or tricks or whatever you want to call it in the industry. And it was not just because I'm so great, it came by default. I said, hey, how can we make restaurant 2 not just equally as good as restaurant 1? Because restaurant 1, I think we have a perfect location. And in restaurant 2, the guy said, no, I don't really care about the location. It's about serving the customers better than anybody else. And they're doing an amazing job. And now I go back to restaurant 1. Hey, did you see what restaurant 2 is doing? And it's hard for me not to say that, but it's amazing how well they do. And we have now one guy overseeing the whole thing. And I think he's really key to all of that. He does a really good job highlighting what one of the locations does really well. And he also does really good job in saying, hey, this didn't work last night. The dinner was too long, or the dinner was too intricate. It just took too long to serve. And he's really good at that. He's not the guy to actually make him the dish, because he couldn't do that, but he's really good in breaking it down and make it actionable. And that's what we love about him.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's awesome. It also reminds me of any person in your organization can improve it in little ways, big ways. And I was on the road a while back, and I heard someone speak of something they instituted in their restaurant that up-leveled and changed the way people looked at it. And they were able to share either anonymously or they could write their name on it. And she called it the MMDD philosophy. And I'm like, what's that? And it stands for Made My Day Difficult. And it was almost like an old-fashioned suggestion box where at the end of every shift, everyone was encouraged to put something down, and they would try to improve these things. And you could vent about something, but if there was a common thread, then you knew it was a challenge that was affecting service, that was affecting the guest experience. And I thought, that's wonderful. It gives people a way to share something, because if you don't ask, you don't get. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
I love that.
Made my day difficult. You got to tell us, Christian, tell us about the pop-up on the beach story. And that's amazing. You put on this 5-course meal on the beach, an impromptu thing, and the ingredients, and it all came together. And how do you do that when you're on the beach and you need power and you need equipment and all this kind of stuff? And there's marketing impact to that, because tell us all about that. I think it's a great story.
He wasn't perfect. We learned, by the way, I learned a lot through that. Power and water is a bad idea. So there's a few things we learned for this.
Okay.
Timing is very important. And then also, there's this company, and I'm more than happy to share with you what we use. I actually have 3 of them here. We found this power pack, and the power pack, it takes about 10, 15 hours to charge, but I can plug in 4 devices, has 1800 watt, and the 4 devices can burn into or whatever you want to do for 17 hours. So we found that, and it was $1,000 a piece back then. And so we started this, and we actually, we got to mount them on the bottom of the tables. Bad idea. Don't mount anything, because if it doesn't work, don't mount it, okay? Lessons learned. But we started using these power packs, and they changed everything. And people said, how did you get power out there? And I was like, it's just really special. Yeah. And then also the timing was really intricate, because for me, if you do this, and for us, it wasn't just because we was so great, because the first power things was charging that didn't work. It was just a lot of lessons learned. And you know how it is on the beach, being windy, lessons learned.
Oh, that too, right. You can't control these things.
So all of that are taking into effect, because having sand in your salmon is not a good thing. It's great when it comes out of the water, not bad when you want to eat it.
Sand in the salmon, yeah.
We learned a lot. It was a great event, and we still do it. We do it now with Beach View, much better than actually doing it on the beach. And actually, what we actually did, we just did one last weekend where we actually did it in the garden. And what we found was just having a different atmosphere. I think the beach was amazing, but it's always windy, or most of the time windy.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was really difficult. But I think if I can recommend anything to anybody, you need to do a way or do a dinner outside. Again, it wasn't my idea. I went to this place in upstate Connecticut. It's called the Golden Lamb. Do you remember that place?
I don't.
It was in
What part of Connecticut is it?
Putnam, Connecticut.
Oh, Putnam, sure. I know
Golden
Putnam.
Lamb.
Yeah.
And Golden Lamb, you parked, they brought you like a hayride into what used to be the cow holding area, I call it. It wasn't really a stable, but you could eat and see the cows eating right next door. And what they did amazingly is they had this lamb stew where they put hay on the blade, they put your bowl in it, and then they put hot water on the hay. And when you ate it, I was like, first of all, I was like, why would they do this? It's just crazy. But when you ate it, it made it such an immersive experience. I still talk about it, and this is now 15 years ago. It was so cool how they did this. And I always said, we need to find a way to bring people outside of the dining room, because when they're outside, you know what the amazing thing is? When people outside of the dining room, they commune different, they talk different. I think it makes people happy being outside of a building. And when you do it in a setting like we did just in a garden, it's amazing. And some people probably do a better job than we do, and we're going to get better at it. But it was one of those things. If it doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else. And we will always try something else, because we want to leave our customers with becoming architects of memories. But so for that dinner, the whole story, it was not our greatest dinner. A lot of lessons learned, but just being honest and sharing with them. The wind was a little bit much. There was a few other things. There was dogs running by. It was not a perfect evening.
But people remembered it. And I think there's definite brand building value in setting yourself apart from the competition and doing the complete opposite of what you expect. Oh, that's awesome.
You look great on Instagram. Yes. Execution-wise, there's room for improvement. And
I'm sure the garden dinner is much better.
Yeah, it was not the proudest moment, but it was amazing. And so for me, I never did one of those dinners where they hoist you up a few hundred feet and your feet dangle. I'm not sure if I would enjoy that dinner, but there's so much cool stuff out there. And the Golden Lamb, I always refer to that, because as I got the hay, I was like, what are you doing with the hay? I got my lamb stew in the middle, and then he poured hot water on it. It was so amazing.
Wow. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I get it. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll never forget that.
And that's why I said, you don't need to be the first one doing this. To anybody out there, to any listener, you don't need to be the first one. You just need to make it yours.
There you go. There's no longer any original ideas, but you can put your own little stamp on it and make it something different, even though it's been done before. I love that. Fantastic. Christian, it's been a huge pleasure having you on this show.
I really appreciate it. And actually, I have a little token of appreciation for you and for your audience. I wrote a book, which is the 10 things which helped me scale my business, and be in the final stages of wrapping it up. Be having it currently as an ebook. My publisher is on me, you should sell it. And what I would like to do is, for anybody listening to your podcast and anybody coming to you, if they DM us, I send you a free version of that book, the 10 things I learned.
I like that.
For me to run my business. And that's a little thank you for having me here, and thank you to your listeners. And by the way, there's 2 other things I want your listeners to do. Number 1, they need to tell 5 people about you. And now, Roger aside, I'm talking to your audience. Yeah, there's 3 things I learned about Roger. Number 1, he's amazingly good in what he does. He is much better looking than he should be. Second thing is, the third thing is, he honestly cares. And for me, my audience, and for me, I had somebody from my team, they ethically stalked you for 9 weeks to try to find fault in what you do. And so to your listeners, you need to share this with 5 people, because what Roger does here, he should get paid for that. And he should charge for that because it's some really amazing stuff you have and you have some really great audience. Yeah. And the second thing is, he's just a really nice guy. I try to find fault. I can find fault. So for me, I know we all want to hang out with people which are just like us. And I just absolutely adore you. I want to say thanks for having me. We need to do some other stuff together. But to the listeners, make sure you go out and tell 5 people about this podcast.
Well, Christian, I can't thank you enough. 1, for the generous offer for the audience, and 2, for the kind words that humble me so much. But it's a community of like-minded people that are all pulling in the same direction with the common goal of sharing the love and sharing the wonderful food with people. And you, sir, are a credit to our industry as well. And I'm so glad that we connected and that I was on your show and that you're on ours.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That was the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Thank you so much to our audience for always tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors this week. And thank you again, Christian, for sharing the love and the passion for our business. And we can't wait to see you all in the next episode. So stay tuned and stay well. Running my restaurants taught me that the right tools move your business forward. So I'm a fan of Touch Bistro. It's more than just a POS. It's an all-in-one restaurant management system built by restaurateurs. Touch Bistro helps speed up service, reduce errors, and turn tables faster, while loyalty programs, online ordering, and contactless payments boost your bottom line. Plus, real-time analytics, inventory tracking, and staff scheduling are game changers. Want to learn more? Reach out to my friend Becky at BTARTICK@touchbistro.com or give her a call at 647-360-3994. She'll give you the full scoop and take great care of you.